A new study says more than 1,000 units are going to be needed here in Clinton County in the coming years to meet the growing housing demand. The feasibility study, spearheaded by the Clinton County Industrial Development Agency, suggested 5 potential sites for new housing, including property at Clinton Community College, which is relocating to the SUNY Plattsburgh Campus this coming fall, as well as the site of the former Miromar Outlet Mall right near the border in Champlain. County officials say more housing is desperately needed to keep up with an expected increase in population. And Molly Ryan, who is the Executive Director of the Clinton County Industrial Development Agency and Director of Economic Development for Clinton County, joins us now. Welcome back. It's nice to have you.
Nice to be back, Tom.
What prompted this study? Was it projections that the population here in Clinton County is going to continue to grow, or was it businesses saying, we've got openings, we want to hire people, we need places for them to live, or maybe both?
Well, actually, believe it or not, it came out of a conversation with one of our municipalities who was looking to repurpose an abandoned facility. And so rather than focus on one place in the county, we thought, well, let's go county-wide and find where is the need, what is the need, and where can we put it? So that was what prompted the IDA to conduct the study.
And was that Miromar, the outlet mall?
It was.
Which has been sitting there vacant for years and
years.
Yes,
and identified by Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board as a potential housing site. So this came on the heels of that study, and speaking with them, they did this region-wide study, and they said, we would love it if municipalities could also take a deeper dive of what housing needs in just your specific county. So, we also know that housing is not exactly affordable to build these days. So the IDA traditionally, benefits companies and gives tax incentives for in return for job creation. Well, we can't keep looking at economic development in a silo like that. We have to look at it as if we can bring in all the jobs that we want, but if the people have nowhere to live, then that's a problem. So we felt it was incumbent upon us to take a deeper dive how to make building housing more affordable and identify where it could be.
So helping out developers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you may remember this project called Prime. It was going to create a lot of housing in downtown Plattsburgh. That's still in the courts, and I know there's been discussion about how to revamp that so that everybody can be accommodated by it. With that said, we know that we need 1,100 units from this study, and that's a massive number. And so it was my understanding that when Prime happened, a lot of the objection was that incentives were being given to an out-of-region company. This is a way to give our developers right here financial incentives to build and make it more affordable for them to do so.
So the study found 1,100 new housing units needed over 5 years?
Yes, to either replace aging stock or to create new housing.
Did that number surprise you or not at all?
It was. We knew that we needed housing. That's a discussion across the United States, but 1,100 over 5 years to me was quite astounding. That's a significant number.
Does the study estimate how much the population is going to grow here in the county and over the next 5 years?
All those factors come into it. Are we going to grow? We know for a fact that we have companies that are expanding, rapidly expanding. Schluter Systems, Beta Technologies. These companies are on the brink of large expansions. Microbird. So we know that they're going to need to bring in more people to do that. So yes, this absolutely addresses some of that need.
So you talk about Miromar, which is the abandoned outlet mall up in Champlain. That's one of the sites. Any idea how many units could be created there? Does it get into that detail?
The study does get into that detail. It does actually map out how many units at each of those locations that they identified would be doable.
One of the other sites is Woodcliff, which is property near Clinton Community.
Actually owned part of Clinton Community College. So that property is part of Clinton Community College. It's 10 acres across the road on Woodcliff Drive. So we're having, as you may know, we're also in the midst of conducting a feasibility study on Clinton Community College. What that looks like, we don't know. What we do know is that when they conducted this assessment, they looked at specific properties that could be for sale. So what we're also now seeing is, now that people know this study has been done, there are other people who are raising their hand saying, hey, I have property. Maybe we could put this here. Obviously, that wasn't taken into consideration because they were only looking at stuff that was for sale. If they can't identify a property for housing if they don't know it's available. So, but we are getting calls from folks saying, hey, I have an idea. We want to be part of this. Let us help.
And the study did identify 5 sites. What are some of the other sites that it identified?
So as you mentioned, the Miromar Mall, Woodcliff. There is a site on the Banker Road in the town of Plattsburgh. There is a site off Bear Swamp Road in Peru, and then one in Saranac.
You've talked about the companies that are on the brink of expanding or already expanding. Schluter, as you mentioned, certainly one. We know that Microbird is moving into the Nova bus factory in the coming months and planning to hire about 350 workers. Their plans, including the number of workers, that hasn't changed as far as we know, given the threat of tariffs and the trade war.
As far as we're aware, they're moving forward. In fact, I believe there's already been some Microbird buses that are here, and the transition has been pretty seamless. I think the last Nova bus was manufactured a few days ago, and now is out the door.
You talked about the incentives for the developers. What's been the response from housing developers to the talk that there could be tax breaks for them to help them get some projects going?
Absolutely. Right out of the gate, the IDA can provide a sales tax exemption. That's 8% off of your costs right out of the gate. And then we're talking about potential pilot structures based on the type of housing that you're creating, because we also know we need lots of different kinds of housing. We need what's called affordable housing or Section 8 housing. We need workforce housing for young professionals. We need senior housing because our senior population has changed quite a bit. These are people that are much more active, very involved in their children's lives, don't necessarily want to move into the traditional senior community of a one-bedroom apartment sort of thing. So we need to create housing that is likable for them so that they feel comfortable moving into those housing units and then freeing up the inventory that may be able to be purchased by other families.
And the study just came out. Obviously, we understand that, but are there any developers already interested? Are there any projects already to the point of getting on the drawing board?
I have had some calls about it, but very much in its infancy. But yes, and to your point, local developers are calling and saying, wow, I didn't realize that this could be an option. This might actually make it affordable for me to do this. And I think you're going to see some very interesting public-private partnerships moving forward to accomplish these goals.
We are also hearing for housing developers right now concerns about the tariffs and the costs going up, supplies if they get them from Canada, and a number of them do, that could really increase the cost of their projects or even put them on hold. Yep. The timing for that probably couldn't be worse right now to have that moving.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, right? Everything changes every day, it seems. So, we created these incentives based on making building housing more affordable. And so I think it comes at the exact right time because it could help eliminate some of those barriers that tariffs present.
Any other steps the county is taking to try to boost interest among developers? There's the sales tax exemption,
right.
But other steps as well?
Yeah, so that's our next step. So like I said, we did modify our uniform tax exemption policy to help create pilot structures for different types of housing. But this is not a study that we want to just have set on the shelf. This is a study that we want to take this information and what do we do next? So we're already engaging with Camoin Associates who conducted the study to say, okay, what's next? How do we get these developers? How do we connect them with the right resources? I've had conversations with the governor's office about, there's a lot of money out there for affordable housing. We know that the gap is still large. Even with the IDA incentives, the gap is large. The governor has some pretty aggressive housing goals throughout the state. And so we're going to have to work together with those public-private partnerships to make this work and make it affordable so that people have a place to live that is affordable for them.
Now, at the same time, as you already mentioned, the county is getting ready to conduct a feasibility study into the best use of Clinton Community College and the campus once they move to SUNY Plattsburgh in August. Could housing be an option for that site?
I think everything is on the table for that site. I'm anxious to see what is presented. At the end of the day, the county wants to make sure that whatever is created there is the best and highest use for that property, and in turn provides tax revenue for the use of the residents. Obviously we slated a part of it already that could be potential housing, so I think everything is on the table for that.
And when will that study be done?
I'm hoping in the next month or two.
We talked a little bit about how the tariffs and the trade war may be impacting housing developers. Is the county feeling this impact as well? We've seen the drop in the number of visitors coming across the border. Is the county, all the businesses in the county, feeling an impact from this?
We know that the numbers are dropping. Airport committee meeting happened last night. We are seeing a drop in Canadian visitors to the airport. Obviously everybody's concerned about what that impact looks like.
For the airport, you have some of the airlines, Allegiant, Breeze, and others that cater to Canadians. They want them coming across the border and flying on their planes. If those numbers drop, does that potentially endanger that service and those airlines from continuing to fly out of Plattsburgh?
You know, we haven't had any communication like that as of yet from those companies. Allegiant is going to be announcing new service in the near future. So, you know, I think that they're optimistic, but obviously, as we, you know, facts are facts. The travel industry is usually the one that suffers the most when disposable income is at play. So obviously, it's something to be concerned about.
Contour Airlines,
yes,
is going to be changing their destination
today.
Is it as of today?
Yes, as of today.
Have been flying into Philadelphia. Now
Yes.
we'll have daily flights to
Dulles. Yes.
Is that better?
We think that this is going to be much more effective. That the connectivity in Dulles is just much more wide-ranging.
And they keep 2 daily flights most days, 5 days a week?
Yep.
And efforts to get Plattsburgh International Airport designated as a port of entry in full swing again. Congresswoman Stefanik has reintroduced a bill that would do that. This good news for the airport?
It's fantastic news. This is long overdue. There's ports of entries that are, you know, much smaller than what is going through the Plattsburgh Airport. It just makes sense. You know, $800,000 is a lot to a county, is what it costs the county every year to maintain that service. But if it's a designated port of entry, that cost will be passed to the federal government instead of the county itself. So, which, you know, $800,000 to a county, a lot. To our federal government, not so much. So we are very hopeful and very thankful for our delegation that has been supportive of this. We are hopeful that any mechanism to get this done, we applaud.
Molly Ryan, thank you, as always, for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
Good to see you again, Tom.